Welcome, geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to a brand new episode of Geek to Me Radio. Tonight, we have acting legend Thaao Penghlis joining us. Mission Impossible, Days of Our Lives. We'll talk about his brand new podcast, The Great Escape, is out. After that, we've got screenwriter Billy Ray on with us, talking about a new book he's got out. Plus, Joey V and I are going to review Ready or Not 2. All that and more. Stand by.
We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors for Hogwarts houses, one ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all.
If you're driving around the greater St. Louis area tonight listening to us on the Big 550 KTRS, hello to all of you out there listening. If you are streaming us on YouTube and Facebook, we do have video, so hello to all of you who are watching. If you're catching us after the fact in the podcast version, we appreciate you finding us there. Make it a point to try to tune in live on Sunday nights. We broadcast every Sunday here from the Gold Tower in Westport Plaza, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. You can make an appointment and join us for our fantastic live guests, but we do appreciate you finding us wherever you do manage to find us. If you're listening in the podcast form, make sure you leave us a nice 5-star review on whatever platform it is you're listening to us. That helps us out in search engine optimization, helps us reach more people. It's something you can do for free to support the show. We do appreciate that. My guest is a second-time person joining us now. We had him on, and we were just talking off air. It's been about 2.5 years since his last podcast, The Lost Treasures, was out. He's joining us now to talk about his new one, The Great Escape. Welcome to the show once again, Thaao Penghlis.
Thank you.
Great to have you on again. I feel like you could have had an entirely different career as a travel guide, because these deep dives you do into these places you go. I know you love travel because you talked about it so passionately last time we had you on. Tell people a little bit about The Great Escape.
Well, I was just going to Egypt in May to follow through with the second part of this story. And I've had to cancel Egypt because I was also going to Jordan. And from there, I was going to Turkey. So all of those areas have been prohibited really to travel to. So I'm developing The Great Escape into a script. I think because it's a story that hasn't really been told about how the Holy Family escaped Herod in the fourth year of AD. And then, I went to 8 sacred places along the Nile and explored the areas where they hid from Herod and his secret police. And it was really quite an extraordinary place to be in an environment that is so ancient. And sitting with monks, there's something about truth-telling when you sit with a monk and they tell you their story. And so when I explored this, I took all these stories together, and then out of that, which is the introduction to The Great Escape, I thought there was a story to tell about how the Holy Family, by escaping into Egypt, brought Christianity beginning in Cairo, they brought into Egypt. And so the Coptic religion, which is the Christian religion in Egypt, and it's just such an incredible area to walk into, an ancient area, and sit there in silence or light a candle and just take in the environment. Because sometimes people, when they tour a place, they walk in, they see, and they turn around and then they leave. But not many people get the chance to sit in silence, to take in the energy of that ancient world. Yeah. And so I did a part 1 and part 2 of the story, and how after 4 years they eventually were able to go back to Palestine And so it's a wonderful story. And I thought, well, who were the wise men? I bring the wise men. I did a research on where they came from, who they were, how they influenced the story of the escape into Egypt. And then I, I thought, well, who was at that time? It was Herod, and in Saba in Persia, these two kings were treacherous and the way they treated people. And I thought it was a great conflict. And then you have the three wise men coming through the story and how they brought a saving grace to the Holy Family in their escape. And so this story, 2,000 years later, is very prominent in our Christian religion.
I'm curious because obviously, the story of this, people know broad strokes either from reading the Bible or if they take a class at college, they might do some stuff. The detail, like just what you said just now, the detail you've got into this, what kind of came first? Was it your fascination about the history, or was it your love for travel? Which one fed the other?
I think because I read once that the Pope had created these sacred spaces in Egypt, proclaiming these were the places that the Holy Family had survived with help while this secret police of Herod chased them through. And because I decided to make it a combination of exploration and also touring the area, so it's not just going into a country when you travel and just explore whatever the country's about, its food, its culture. I do a lot of research before I go in. I don't want to be ignorant of another country's culture, so that when I go in, I don't embarrass myself, asking the wrong question.
Right.
Because everybody has their rules and their laws, and so you have to, when you go through, you have to have, like I have a great guide who took me through for 2 weeks, and I've had that guide now for 30 years.
Wow.
So I've been to Egypt now 14 times,
Ooh.
but it's always the first time. I never get used to it somehow. And also the fact, how many times can you sit in front of the pyramids and still make it feel like it's something new? Because as you get older and you develop as a human being, something about you changes, especially with travel.
Yeah.
We don't become ignorant about other people's cultures. And so it broadens the foundation in which we stand on by being more of a world traveler rather than a tourist who goes in occasionally and makes judgments
Right.
on how people live or with their food or whatever. But, it's not, a lot of people travel and they want to have a great time and do that. I like to combine the good times with the explorations of what I don't know and put myself into those areas. That's why I've spent many times traveling into monasteries. I just love, I love sages. I love people who know more than I do, or who
Sure.
have kind of wisdom I didn't understand or had heard before. And so, listen, in one lifetime that we have, I'd like to think that my whole life wasn't just about acting,
Yeah.
but that the travel, the journeys fed into the kind of work I did.
And I assume, especially when you're developing these podcasts like Lost Treasures and Great Escape, you have to be even more deliberate with your itinerary, with your schedule, with setting up a guide ahead of time, even more so than like someone who's, I don't want to say a casual tourist, because those are the people you always see on their cell phones, taking pictures, selfies in the Vatican, things like that. But then there's the next level down where people like you who appreciate this, but then it feel like there's another depth to how you're doing it, that you're really immersing yourself. You're making sure you are studied on the customs. And I don't think that's a level of travel many people attain. It sounds like you're really just that God tier traveler.
I think it's also because in my youth, I wanted to be an archaeologist.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I took 8 hours in a car traveling across the Sinai Desert and then climbed Sinai.
Wow.
And being part of that, you walk the path, as a monk said to me, "Thank you for coming," when I reached the top of Mount Sinai. And I said, "Why do you thank me?" He says, "Because when you walk the path, you keep it alive."
Mm.
And so I like to make it as rich as possible. My brother has in Australia, when he travels and he comes back, I said, how was it? There's not much of an exploration there. It's the cost. It's if he sees one more icon, he's going to scream. So for me, I thought, what happened? You know, I was the eldest son, but I always loved ancient history because, let's face it, you know, the great stories that we tell, even when you see the Odyssey that's coming out of a story that's from the 8th century BC, there's something incredible about that story is still valid today.
Yeah.
It's about man's journey and trying to find himself and bring himself closer to God or wherever his beliefs are. But to me, when I come back, always something about me will have changed by taking that route.
When you travel and you do these, you know, when you're climbing the mountain and doing all these things, are you a person who has, I don't want to say souvenirs is the wrong word, but is there something that you usually bring back as a memento or a reminder of each journey that people would look at your shelf and say, what's that? Like they would have no idea, but that's a special thing to you, something you got along your journey.
Well, I have a collection of Egyptian sculptures and from 1600 BC.
Wow.
But when I met a fantastic guide, they took me into a tomb that had just been discovered. And when I walked in, the first person in 4,000 years to walk through, and what I found in the sand as I sat there meditating was an ancient piece of cloth that was wrapped into a mummified jackal.
Hmm.
And it was something to discover that the first time that when you walk in after that many years, it is profound. And they allowed me to bring that piece of sculpture and that ancient cloth back to America.
Wow.
And so, yes, I do collect things that are part of that memory. And I remember when we were going through COVID and I stayed home, I used to look at all the objects that I've collected through the years, and each one has a story. And so that allowed me to stay within my space and not get bored or restless because there was something that sustained me through those ancient travels. And so, yeah, I bring something back always when I travel. You know, even a piece of a mummy's sarcophagus, the head of it. I've collected a few of those. And so, yeah, I mean, and then my brother says to me, oh, come back to Australia and retire here. And he says, and sell everything.
Oh my gosh.
And like, you know, it's like saying, sell your history. And I said, no, I learned when I was a young man in New York that people passed on things.
Yeah.
You know, there's something about heritage. When you give something to somebody and you tell them the story, they really appreciate it, and there's a memory to it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do. To my friends and to my family, I'll pass on. I couldn't think of doing an auction on some of these pieces that I have.
Yeah. I know there's so much restriction. Has there ever been any problems? And not to imply that you got them out of the country legally, but has there ever been a customs guy like, what's this, buddy? What are you doing? Has there been any issues with it?
Yeah, I had that in New York, and he says, what's that? I said, oh, just a family heirloom. He said, what, you have to carry it with you? I said, the rest of my life, but I have to. I said, it's part of my heritage. He goes, okay, go. So, it's like, you know, what do you say? You know, they look at it and it looks repulsive to them, but to me it was a discovery.
Yeah.
Waiting for me to discover after 4,000 years. You know, or when I found a mummy that's from 1600 BC from Karnak. I mean, those things have incredible memories. And,
sure.
You know, when I come back from a journey, and I've been on days for 43 years, when I come back and I say to my fellow actors, oh, so what did you do this summer? Oh, I built a shed, you know, I played baseball, I did that. And they said, what did you do? And I went, oh, I don't know. I said, I discovered things that I never knew before. And it always fed my work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you can just tell just in the way you're expressing things, the passion you have for this, which is, I think, what makes Lost Treasures and now Great Escape, such a compelling story, is just, you know, you can tell you've got a very drive and a genuine passion for this type of thing. And talking about Days of Our Lives, you just mentioned, congratulations. It's been 43 years on the show. Has been fantastic. It's absolutely mind-boggling to think about. I know we talked a little bit off air before we went on the show here that we had Louise Sorel on recently, and she had great things to say about you. And I know last time we had you on was about 2.5 years ago. I'm sure even more so for you, I was heartbroken that to find out we lost Drake a couple of years. It was almost 2 years ago now, I guess. But that was crushing because he was one of the reasons I started watching him and Matthew Ashford. And you came back on Days about a year after I started watching, and I was drawn to your character as well. And it just seems like everything you're talking about, you are Tony DiMera, like that worldly, well-traveled, well-spoken, well-educated person. I have sometimes a hard difference seeing the difference in you. I guess that's kind of woven into the story. They kind of worked a lot of your personality into Tony.
Well, you know, we've lost quite a few of the actors over the years, with Bill Hayes and Joe Moscolo. And it's not always easy. Their presence was always strongly felt. You know, the reason why they survived that many years is because something about their character had a kind of depth, and the audience loved them. And Stefano was such a powerful character. And also Drake as an adversary. It was amazing because I remember when we were both very young, and he used to come in at 4 a.m. and do his workout and take and drink these different drinks to keep him slim and all that. And then to get pancreatic cancer at 70. Yeah. It was hard to believe because I thought, wow, he was quite an enigma in many ways, you know. He also made me laugh because of the way, you know, so I really enjoyed working with him. Yeah. And we recently had Phil Morris on too, and he talked about your time together on Mission Impossible and those kind of things. It feels like your acting career, you've had all these great, you know, exotic, because I know Days of Our Lives used to do travel to different places, and you'd you know, they'd film sometime in Greece, and they'd go on location a lot of these places. I'm sure as someone who's always been interested in travel, doing those exotic filming locations must have just been right up your alley. You know, there's something about being part of a golden age in Hollywood. Certainly those stories that we had in the 80s and 90s was part of an era that we don't have anymore. The sad thing is, you know, everything gets cheaper and budgeting, and then it becomes about younger actors. And then, you know, the thing that we always had coming in as a young actor, we always had actors that were there for a long time and which were iconic, and the way we were able to learn from their ways of and why they survived that many years. But Phil and I, God, when you think about how long ago when we did Mission Impossible in Australia, we had a fantastic time. But you know, we lost Peter Graves and we lost Tony Hamilton. So for those of us who have survived and can still tell about those stories, you know, Phil and I have socialized many times. He's been to my house many times for dinner because, you know, I like to cook. And so, but, you know, there's something sad about getting older and seeing that you're in the front line because so many have gone before you. Yeah. You know, it's not because it's not like we get invested with the fellow actors we work with for many years. And then when they go, it's like something about you has gone as well. Yeah. You know, there's something, and you can't replace it. You can't replace those experiences. And so I'm in the front line now. And, but, you know, I have wonderful times seeing some of the actors like Susan Hayes and Deidre Hall, and also seeing Lauren Koslow and Leanne Hunley, of course. Yes. So we're going to do, Leanne and I are going to do, to raise money for charity for a school, we're going to do love letters at the end of April.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
Where will
so
that be?
That'll be nice. It'll be Sally Struthers. There's a number of actors who've come together to keep an acting school going, and so we volunteered. So, that's that I'm enjoying.
Where will that be?
It's going to be here in Hollywood. I haven't got the address yet. I'm waiting for the script to come because Love Letters is a love story between two people who sit at a table and reminisce about their past. And so, because Leanne and I really, after 43 years, are really close friends, I think the intimacy will be there when we're reading, and the humor,
Yeah.
with the play. So we're going to be doing that, and then I'm waiting when it's going to be safe again to do some travel. But in the meantime, I think I want to put down on paper the script of with my writing partner, the script of The Great Escape, because I think it's a wonderful story. And if you see that, religion, Christianity is becoming very prominent. You have Mel Gibson doing the part 1 and part 2 of the resurrection of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And my story is about the three wise men. There's something about exploring and coming with knowledge rather than just telling a story. Your homework is very important. You have to. How do you build a foundation and tell an audience something they don't know, or you interpret it in a different way that they've never heard before? And so that's what I'm looking forward to, because while you're discovering, you also discover things about yourself. So that's the beauty of being in this business.
Yeah. And if you're listening right now, we're talking to Thaao Penghlis. You can catch The Great Escape on Spotify, Audible, and Amazon. It'll be there. And of course, if you've got Peacock, you can check him out on Days of Our Lives, going 43 years strong with Tony DiMera there. And I got to say, as I'm wrapping this up here, I want to say I love your social media posts, because you have a great spread of different things you post. And it's always great to see pictures of you and Leanne and Lauren as you do some of your outings together. It's always fun to see those. So your social media game is on point, my friend.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for being interested.
Yes.
In how we, how do you influence people? How do you stimulate people? How do you make them feel there's something worthy to look forward to? And that's why I think the podcast is really an interesting journey, and what it's like to travel on your own and come across the obstacles that I did, and then tell the story of the escape, and also discovering what it was like in ancient Persia. And it's interesting because today we're at war with Iran.
Right.
So it's history repeats itself, and I hope people will listen to it, because there's some wonderful information, and I think it's a great story.
Yeah, absolutely, very compelling, and the way you present everything makes it even more so. So it's always fun to hear what you have to say and have you weigh in on these topics, especially, like I said, with all your vast travel experience. Before I let you go, if I could ask a favor, so since we're a live radio show, we have our return liner. So we have our celebrity guests will give us, like in your case, hi, this is Thaao Penghlis, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hello, this is Thaao Penghlis, and I am speaking to Geek Radio.
Geek to Me Radio.
Geek to Me Radio.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Geek to Me Radio. I should be able to remember those things. Hello, this is Thaao Penghlis, and I'm with Geek to Me Radio. I hope you enjoy and listen to this wonderful station.
Thank you so much. And it's always a pleasure to have you on. Anytime you want to come back, you're more than welcome. I love talking to you. Big fan. Thank you so much for your time on a Sunday night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Be well. Take care.
Bye-bye.
There he goes. Make sure you check out the podcast. Like I said, Lost Treasures was a fantastic, Great Escape, just levels up the game. So if you are interested in anything travel-wise and all the stuff that he mentioned, make sure you check that out. We are going to take a quick commercial break. We are going to come back in just a moment. We'll have a brief interview that I did with Billy Ray, screenwriter. We'll talk to him, and then Joey V and I review Ready or Not 2. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
Lucy.
Mickey Mouse Talking Phone from Hasbro's Preschool Division.
Half human, half animal. Thunder, 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 thunder.
I'm Monroe. Want the sword of Gunzera.
With this secret power break battery not included, make Lionel's eyes light up.
I'm ready.
With Battle-Matic action, you can make them fight with their swords.
The sword is mine, Lionel. That's what you think, Monroe. Take that.
Thundercats, Mummer and Lionel with light-up eyes. Thunder, Thundercat. Each sold separately, new from LJN.
Here's Happy Monchichi Girl Doll Puppet.
Smile, you've got me.
Monchichi, Monchichi, oh so soft and cuddly. With your thumb in her mouth, she's really neat.
And here's Happy Monchichi Boy Doll Puppet.
Rainy day. I'll play.
Smiling, happy Monchichi. Monchichi, Monchichi, Monchichi.
Happy Monchichi Girl Doll Puppet and Boy Doll Puppet. Each sold separately, new from Mattel.
What will the future bring from Nintendo? More hits like The Legend of Zelda. Sports hits like ice hockey. Nintendo has the most video game hits like Hogan's Alley and Donkey Kong Classics, and more like Excite Bike and RC Pro-Am. And you can play them only on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Now you're playing with power.
Announcing a new arrival.
Mr. Potato Head.
That's me.
Congratulations. It's a...
Hi, this is John Delancey, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
John Delancey just celebrating his 78th birthday a few days ago on March the 20th. Happy birthday, John Delancey. You might know him as Q from Star Trek, but he also played Eugene on Days of Our Lives. And we just had Thaao Penghlis on, who played Tony DeMera. Thought we'd have John Delancey bring us back. Want to make sure we tell you about our premier sponsor, the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau. You know them from the website discoverstcharles.com. They've just, the weather's been a little weird, but they were so crowded. I had to go down Friday to pick up some things from First Capital Trading, Inc. Randall, who owns the place, gave us some gift cards to give away for our movie screening we've got coming up with Tenacious Eats on the 10th. More about that later. But just so many people down there taking pictures. And then my wife said, do you want to take the dog for a walk someplace? I said, yeah, let's go back out to St. Charles because it's really nice out Friday night. So we took Grimlock out for a walk on the cobblestone streets. And there were people getting wedding photos there. There were people doing, photo shoots for probably class pictures, I guess it looked like. And it's just a great time. The people are walking up and down with some Kilwin's ice cream in their hand or coming out of Sugar and Slice with a little bag of macarons. Looked like the Soda Museum and Main Street Arcade was hopping as well. I love to see that. If you're an arcade fan, that's a great place to go and spend some time in a weekend pumping some quarters into those vintage arcade games and checking out the awesome collection of soda memorabilia that Tom has upstairs. No matter what you're looking to do, St. Charles probably has something going on that's going to interest you. Start your trip at the website discoverstcharles.com. That's discoverstcharles.com. You can check out whether it's one of their festivals or if they've got food truck days, tartan days coming up here in April. And of course, Two Rivers Comic Con right around the corner, also in April. Make sure you mark your calendar for that. Maybe pop over to Frenchtown. You can go to Frenchtown Tattoo Company and get a tattoo done. They're one of our newer sponsors for Two Rivers Comic Con this year. Great food, great shopping, whatever it might be you want to check out. Maybe pop into Cozy Shop and get something as a gift for a friend if you've got a birthday, wedding, or anniversary coming up this month or next month. They've got a lot of cool gifts ideas, all based on people who are local here in the Missouri area. So you can check out Cozy Shop. And then we mentioned First Capital Trading, Inc., too, if you want to grab some lounge fly for somebody or a jelly cat, maybe, whatever it might be you want. Some place in St. Charles will have it. From Main Street Books to Sugar and Slice, great barbecue, and of course, great places to shop. Check out the website again, discoverstcharles.com. That's discoverstcharles.com. As we always say, it's an historically good time. So some of these interviews I get the chance to do, and I do them pre-recorded. So I might have to bump them back if we have live guests. I was hoping to play this last weekend, but we had so much fun with Carl Lumley, we kept Carl for the whole hour. Here is screenwriter Billy Ray, and I asked him some Oscar questions. This was pre-Oscars, though, so it's we'll see if his predictions as to who would win Best Adapted and Best New Screenplay held up. Here's my interview with Billy Ray. Right now, we're joined by Oscar-nominated screenwriter Billy Ray. He's got a new YA book out, Burn the Water, kind of a reimagining of Romeo and Juliet in a dystopian future London. Love the premise. Love what I've read so far. Billy Ray, thanks for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a privilege.
Of course, this is it's fascinating because I started reading the book they sent me before I really took a look at the press release. I'm like, oh, this is kind of like Romeo and Juliet. And of course, I read the press release. Oh, good. I nailed that one. I'm not usually that literate, but this was such a cool story. Talk a little bit about the genesis of this idea, kind of taking this story and twisting it in this dystopian future.
Well, about 18 years ago, I actually heard that there was a studio president who wanted to do a new take on Romeo and Juliet. So I thought about what that might be, and I thought, oh, what if I set it in the future? What would that look like? What would that future look like? And what would Romeo and Juliet represent 400 years from now? And everything sort of grew from there. It became, okay, what's the world going to look like in 400 years? Oh, we might all be underwater. Okay, what would that do to England? That would completely isolate it from the rest of the world, particularly London. So what if 90% of London was over the dry 10, the 10% of London that was arable? Could that be what the Montagues and the Capulets are fighting over? And what if we called them the Crowns? And what if the fiercest rogue soldier was a captain named Rafe, and the fiercest crown warrior was a captain named Jewel? And what if they fell in love? And that became the basis of our Romeo and Juliet. Because remember, in the play, as brilliant as it is, Juliet is a pretty passive character.
Right.
She doesn't really go anywhere or do anything. And I thought, well, that might be interesting if Juliet of 400 years from now were the equivalent of Romeo. And that's where Jewel and Rafe came from.
And the book opens, it's got this map of kind of how the layout of the future is in 24-25. What kind of, when you were kind of crafting this novel in your head, are you very familiar with London where you know, okay, this part would be more underwater than this part? Kind of where did the imaginings of the changed landscape come from?
Well, the idea for putting the map there was my daughter's, who is a major devourer of YA. So thank you. But when I had written, I've spent a little time in London, but not a lot. And when I had written the very first draft of the book, I sent it to a very dear friend of mine named Elena Buckley, who grew up in London. And I said, where did I get it wrong? And she literally gave me extensive notes about, well, you should say pavement, not sidewalk. And this part of town would be underwater and this part of town would be above. And very, very lucky there.
And just kind of thinking about this, going back to your work in the Hunger Games, there's this dystopian type of thing that kind of, I feel like ever since Blade Runner, we've always been kind of fascinated, but also kind of worrisome. The future is going to be dystopian. Unless it's a Star Trek thing, we very rarely see a bright, happy future. What is it you think in the zeitgeist of humanity that kind of always not only tends us to see the future in a negative way, but also has that compelling aspect in a story to have it set in that type of atmosphere?
Well, I mean, as a writer, what you're trying to do is take characters and expose them to terrible stress to see who they are under pressure. That's really that's sort of the basic 101 of writing. And you can expose them to more pressure in a dystopian world than in a utopian world. There's just greater stakes, and therefore you can reveal more about who they are. Also, the word utopia itself does not mean a perfect place. The root of that word actually means no place, which is why the first book called Utopia was hugely ironic. It was basically saying there is no perfect future. But also the point of writing this book for me was that I saw a lot of young people around me who look lost. They look voiceless, and they look like they don't know where the future is going, and they're scared of AI, and they're scared of climate, and they don't know how to attack all that politically or socially. And I wanted to give them the gift of a story that says, okay, I know it looks bleak right now, but let me show you something even bleaker. And here are two people who didn't just survive it, they led.
Yeah.
They led their world to a different place. And that's what you're going to have to do. That's what this generation is going to have to do. My generation did a lot to mess this planet up. And the generation behind me, like my daughters and my sons, my daughter and my son will have to lead the world to a better place. And this is my way of trying to encourage them.
And it's interesting, too, you mentioned AI, because I was thinking the other day, I was going back and doing a bit of a rewatch of Walking Dead. And in your novel as well, there's no technology. The metal is all scrapped and used for bullets and things like that. And I'm sitting there kind of wrestling myself, which is a scarier future? One in which AI kind of runs everything, or one in which the land has kind of claimed everything back and we're kind of going a little bit backwards into our hunter-gatherer roots. And I'm not really sure which one seems like a better outcome.
Well, I will tell you my own personal belief, and I can't prove it. But in baseball terms, nature is batting 1,000.
Yeah.
And in every argument between man and nature, or humans and nature, nature wins. And it always will.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit about, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention some of your other work. I was a huge fan of Color of Night. I owned it on VHS, the Hitchcockian nature of it and everything like that. I was in college when it came out, and I was blown away. I loved it. Bruce Willis is always an actor I'll go to. That was your first big project, if I'm not mistaken. Talk a little bit about writing that story, if you could.
By the time that movie got made, there was not a line of mine left in it.
No.
It was creatively devastating for me because that had come from an original script, an original character, an original circumstance, and then I was rewritten. And I have still never seen the film.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding.
Never.
Wow. Well, I hope I didn't just put my foot in my mouth and mention.
No, it's fair game. I'd rather talk about the ones I'm prouder of, but an interview is an interview. You can ask me whatever you want.
Well, we'll switch to Overlord. Hopefully that one's a little bit of a better spot for you, because I think that kind of combined World War II and Nazis. And zombies. I can't think of a more horrifying combination.
Okay. Overlord, I wrote 27 drafts of, and the first third of that movie is mine.
Really?
And the rest of that movie is not mine. This is the game. When you're a screenwriter, if you're not the director, you have to think of it as a relay race. You run your lap, and then you hand the baton, the script, off to the director. And you can then follow him or her around the track if you want, but you can't really change the way they're going to run their lap. And that's the nature of it. And if you can't get sanguine with that, you shouldn't be a screenwriter, because you're going to be miserable a lot of the time. Sometimes it's going to turn out like Captain Phillips, and that's the joy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's going to turn out like Richard Jewell, and that's the joy, or Hunger Games, and that's the joy. But sometimes it's not. And that's the nature of screenwriting, unless you're directing yourself and then you're running all the laps and getting people to run alongside you to help. And you have to understand the difference between the two if you're going to be a screenwriter.
And I guess that brings me to my next question is Shattered Glass, Breach, Last Tycoon, you directed and wrote those. I assume, based on what you've said so far, that's a much more fulfilling place to be in when it's what you've worked, and then you can actually lay out your vision that you've previously written. Yeah,
I mean, first of all, directing is just more fun by its nature than writing, because it's communal. Mm-hmm. In writing, you got to be by yourself to get it done, and that's less fun and more frustrating. But directing, the whole job is to get everyone around you to bring you their best, so that you can improve what you wrote. Right? The whole goal of directing is to beat the page. And you're not there to do a staged reading of your lovely screenplay. You're there to find out what actors can bring to it. What can the DP bring to it? What can the production designer bring to it? What can the editor and the composer bring to it, etc. So that it's better than the thing you wrote. You're not just capturing the thing that you wrote. It's live. It's not a static environment in any way. And the joys to me, when I go back and look at things that I've directed, the joys to me do not come from the thing that I wrote. The joys to me come from, oh my God, that moment with Peter Sarsgaard. Wow. Yeah. He crushed that. Oh my God, this musical cue by Michael Dana. Oh my God. oh my God, the way my DP shot that or lit that scene. Wow.
Yeah.
Those are all enjoying the talents of the other people that augmented the thing that I wrote.
And now coming out later this year, we've got the Hunger Games prequel, Sunrise of the Reaping. You're kind of coming back to the Hunger Games where it kind of had that original movie. Now we're in our second prequel, and this one looks so fascinating. I loved Woody Harrelson as Haymitch in the first one, and we're kind of getting to see his origin story play out.
Yes.
Without spoiling anything, I'm sure you've got NDAs that you've signed a billion times. What can you tell us what to expect, and how excited are you on a scale of 1 to 10 for people to see Sunrise on the Reaping?
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to say 100.
Okay.
I think it's going to be the best of all the Hunger Games movies.
Really?
I'm beyond thrilled. And I can't tell you much about it, except I will tell you a story about the process. Because I was writing the screenplay before the book came out, everybody was so nervous that if anything I wrote leaked, that it would hurt the sales of the book. So the only way I could read the book was to drive to the home of the manager of Suzanne Collins here in LA and sit on his couch and read the book and then leave the book with him. So there was that. It wasn't like I was walking around with a dog-eared copy of the book under my arm. But I also was not allowed to write on a computer that was connected to the internet. So the way that I wrote that script was I would drive to 20th Century Fox every morning, which is where Nina Jacobson has her offices. She's the producer of the series. And I would walk into an office and an assistant would follow me and open a floor safe and take out a laptop that was not connected to the internet. And I would sit and I would write all day and then call her back in. She would take the laptop and put it back in the safe and close it and lock it. And I would come back the next day. And that's how that script got written, so that there was no chance that it could leak.
Man, that's like some Cold War espionage level stuff there. That's impressive. Was that? I'm assuming you enjoy writing, obviously, but I guess that would make it a little bit more stressful. Or was it less stressful? You were able to leave it there and walk away.
It was a challenge because I like being able to have access to my computer whenever I want.
Sure.
And sometimes ideas come at 2 a.m, and it's really handy to walk downstairs and have your computer sitting there. So there was none of that. But this is when you're adapting a Hunger Games book, it's a privilege, and it's worth a little extra difficulty. Yeah. So on that level, it was kind of thrilling and also fun to drive onto a movie lot every day. That's fun, and to eat at the commissary. That's fun. It reminds you that you're in a privileged business and in a privileged position in that business. So definitely worth a little bit of hassle.
And I want to keep an eye on the time. My last question before I let you go, when it comes to Burn the Water, if you, screenwriter, you've done the movies, in the back of your mind, there had to have been a rumbling, an idea of who you would cast as Rafe and Jewel, your main two people. Do you have anyone in mind who would fit the bill for both of those if you had to cast it today?
I do not. Okay. I had pictures in my head of who they were as I was writing, but they were very generic faces. They weren't specific actors. It's weird. They were, because it was a novel, they were so rounded to me as people that they actually weren't anybody that was alive in my frame of reference. They were their own creation. And I'm hoping we find the right people to capture them, because it was very front of mind for me that this should be the beginning of a trilogy in terms of books. And it should be the beginning of a trilogy in terms of movies. And by the way, the second novel is already written.
Oh my gosh.
The sequel is already written and will be published next year.
Wow. When do you find time to sleep with everything you got going? That's amazing. My very last question.
I'll sleep in my 80s.
There you go. At least you have something to look forward to in your retirement. My very last question before I let you go, because
I didn't say I was going to retire.
Just in your 80s. Okay.
But I'll just sleep more in my 80s.
There you go. Little part-time work, then. That's nothing wrong with that. My very last question before I let you go, I'm very curious, obviously, with Captain Phillips being your baby. We're looking at the Oscars here coming up very quickly. Who's your favorite for Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Original Screenplay?
For me, my two favorite movies of the year were Hamnet, which I just think is, oh my God, spectacular, and Sinners.
Yeah.
And one's an adaptation and one's an original.
Yeah.
Those I thought were the two best movies of the year.
Very cool. We'll see how that plays out here on Oscars night. Billy Ray, fantastic to talk to you. If people want to keep up with you online, find out more about you, website, social media handles, anything like that where you can point them to?
Sure. You can follow me on Twitter, which I refuse to call X, at Billy Ray 5229. And it's the same thing on Blue Sky, Billy Ray 5229. You can also go to the Scholastic Books website or the Scholastic Books social media. They're all over the place. And you can buy the book at any bookstore starting today. And there's also an Audible available through Scholastic.
Perfect. So if you're listening right now, go to your local bookstore. If they don't have it, ask them to order it. Burn the Water by Billy Ray. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a delight to speak with you. An absolute privilege. Thank you.
Privilege for me too. And thank you. Stay in touch with me. Let me know how you're doing.
Will do. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Bye-bye.
Maybe we'll try to get him back on before the new Hunger Games sequel comes out, or prequel, I should say. That'd be exciting to have him on, be able to talk about it a little bit more freely, perhaps. And for those keeping track at home, he got Best Original Screenplay right. He said it would be Sinners. Best Adapted Screenplay did go to One Battle After Another, though, and not Hamnet, as he predicted. So he was 1 out of 2. That's not 50% is not bad odds. Did you, when you first heard his predictions, were you thinking that it was just a pipe dream that Hamnet would win?
I was not a fan of Hamnet at all, but that's because I am not really a Shakespeare kid either.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, she's just squatting in the woods, pooping out babies, crying all the time, and then it happens again, and then they give her an Oscar. I actually took the L on my Oscar ballot, just not giving it to her, even though she had won every single one before that, all the precursors. So I took the hit, but I still got 15 out of 24 right.
That's not bad.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, much better odds than possibly Billy Ray did. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Thank you.
And for those of you who were, we had a couple people in the chats. I know Olivia Miller asked about the book. It is called Burn the Water. Please go to your local bookstore. Ask them to order it for you. It's very, very new book, so you should be able to get it there. Burn the Water. Make sure you check that out from Screenwriter Billy Ray. The voice you heard, obviously, on the other end of the mic there, Joey V. He's going to join me right after this commercial break. We're going to come back and review Ready or Not 2, and we might be able to get into some time because we didn't get to thoroughly review the
football movie, Project Hail Mary.
Project Hail Mary, thank you. I don't know why I wanted to say The Martian. I'm like, same guy who wrote it, but no, it's not The Martian this time. So we're going to do that after we come back from this commercial break. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
Be careful! This place is crawling with biker scouts! Don't worry, they're not meant for us, you are!
From Kenner's Star Wars Return of the Jedi collection, new Wicket W. Warwick and Princess Nisa, each sold separately.
Quiet, Nisa, here comes a biker scout! Ayala! Let's go! Yibanga! He's gaining on us! Aye! Head for the forest! Close call! Yub, yub!
New Wicket W. Warwick and Princess Nisa, each sold separately from Kenner's Star Wars Return of the Jedi collection.
Let's get this mess cleaned up.
New from Kenner, Power Movers trucks.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
If Kevin Conroy is listening to it, you should be too. I'm assuming they have podcasts in heaven. Maybe Kevin Conroy is listening to episodes of Geek to Me Radio up there. Who knows? Speaking of heaven, you want a comic book heaven? You might want to check out Bugs Comics and Games. The guy's got new issues every Wednesday, back issues galore. He's got toys, he's got games, he's got action figures, everything you could want under one roof. Bugs Comics and Games on Bryan Road in O'Fallon, Missouri, from Highway 70 or from Highway 364. Either way you get there, you'll be glad when you did. You'll walk in and see boxes and boxes and boxes of back issues you can go through. Different price points to fit any budget. Maybe you just want to fill some gaps in your collection. Maybe you've got Damage from DC Comics or Rebels from DC Comics, or maybe you've got old issues. I'm trying to think of an obscure Marvel title, Darkhawk. And you want to fill some of those holes in your collection. Chances are Larry's got them in his back issue bin. You might want to go through the 50-cent bin first, then move up to the dollar bin, depending on what condition you want your comic books in. If you just want readers, 50-cent and dollar bin's way to go. Otherwise, he's got obviously some more regular priced ones. Then he's got the glorious case and his wall books where you can get some more choice items, some keys and things like that from the Silver and Bronze Age. Check him out on Instagram and Facebook, Bugs Comics and AND Games. You can go there and see some stuff that maybe your local comic book shop closed. He's got stuff on there that you can get. So you say, hey, you know what, that copy you've got up there of Space Ghost or Thundercats or Amazing Spider-Man, I'd like to get that because my local comic book shop didn't have it. Let him know. He'll send you a PayPal invoice. He'll ship it right to your door after you pay, and it's like having your local comic book shop online. Join the Avengers Club while you're there. That way you save money on all your purchases, so you're not sacrificing your hobby in the economy as things like gas keep getting more and more expensive. Bugs, Comics, and Games. Very proud to have them as the official comic book sponsor here on Geek to Me Radio. And, of course, he'll be attending Two Rivers Comic Con happening April 25th and 26th in historic St. Charles. There's the brochure again. Just saw Rick Burchett today at the Spectre Club. That was a fantastic comic book show down there at the off of Lansdowne. A lot of fun there and a lot of cool people hanging out. It was a good time. So hi to Spike, hi to our friends at All American Comics, hi to Lorenzo, and hi to Jim Oosley, who were all there as well. It's like a little St. Louis comic book reunion. We want to make sure we get into these reviews because obviously Olivia Miller is telling us that she loves Joey V's movie reviews. So, Joey, I'm going to let you start us off. What were your thoughts on Ready or Not 2?
Well, first, let's go over the plot real quick. I feel like you don't need to see the first movie to get into the second one because it instantly ends and then this movie begins. She's on the steps of a burning house and you're just led to believe, oh, this is the first movie, how it ended. And they do some creative flashbacks. But if you don't know what's going on, the first one, this woman, Samara Weaving, great Australian actress, future action star if she's not already. She marries into a family, and they're evil and cult-like, and they like to play board games. They hunt her all night, and then she survives. Well, as soon as that movie ends, apparently there's these other families who pull the strings throughout the world. There's these 4 other families that want to come and hunt her. What bad luck for her. That's terrible. They even imply that these families did the JFK assassination.
Right, yeah.
So they have the ability to pick up the phone, call a war off or start a war, and then it just happens. So that's how powerful they are. And they love board games and rules too. So I think that's all you need to know. But, you know, just like Rocky 2, you don't need to watch the first one. They recap pretty extensively so you're caught up. Now, did you feel like you wanted to go and rewatch the first one?
I did because that was one of my very favorite movies of 2018, 2019.
Mm-hmm.
When it came out, I loved an original premise. Joey just gave the recap of the first one. And I kind of feel like it would behoove you to see the first one. You don't have to.
Yeah.
But I think it'll really kind of cement your understanding for what's going on in the second one. But it is one of those movies you don't necessarily need to see the first one, as you mentioned. But this is one of the sequels when they announced it. Like, how are they going to do a sequel?
7 years later, who's asking for this? Right. I don't mind it. I love horror and gore, but I don't think anyone was asking for this.
No, and again, the first one ended so well, I didn't see them making a sequel when it was out. So I was like, really? How are they going to pull it off? I think they did it really well. I think the sequel, it could have been absolutely ruinous. I mean, like, oh gosh, this is garbage. Now they're just trying to pump a cash cow. But they did a great job. The cast is all great because they added a new character in her little sister, who we think because I think they even make a statement that, oh, I don't have any family.
That's why they're allowed to kill her, because she doesn't have any family. That's the big twist in the second one. Oop, one pops up.
Yeah, because she kind of left her family behind, go out on her own. There's a lot of tension between the younger sister who was abandoned, feels abandoned. They kind of go back and forth on, I didn't abandon you. I had to do what I had to do. And so there's that push and pull between the two sisters. Catherine Newton plays the younger sister, and you've got that dynamic going on in the middle of all the other stuff with these families trying to kill her. And of course, I was going to see this one regardless if the first one was a favorite of mine, because it's got Sarah Michelle Gellar, and I will see anything she does. She plays one of the rich brother-sister team who are very invested in killing Samara Weaving's character.
And these are very rich people, so I thought that was great stunt casting, actually, by having Sarah Michelle Gellar, because I just watched this movie and I love it. Cruel Intentions.
Yes.
Do you remember she was this rich B word and with Ryan Felipe, and they were just so campy and over the top, and I was so excited to see her. That actually made me think it was going to be a little funnier, but it was more serious than that. But if you love humans hunting human movies, which we were just talking to Billy Ray. That's Hunger Games right there.
Yeah.
Or Hard Target with Jean-Claude Van Damme hunting homeless people. I mean, it is great. Who do you think would survive? Me versus you, middle of the woods. I mean, your dad was in the military.
You know I'm a very nice guy. I probably would let you. Oh, you go ahead and kill me. It's fine. I don't have to kill you. So
I don't want to inconvenience you. Just go ahead.
Yeah.
Eric is going to miss you more than Laura will. Yeah, you go ahead and take me.
Yeah, Laura would be like, let him do it. Let him do it. But no, to your point, I hadn't thought about that. And I know Ryan Felipe's character dies at the end of Cruel Intentions. Spoilers for this movie if you didn't see it in 1998. But it would have been, rather than, again, taking nothing away from Sean Hatosi, who played her brother, to have Ryan Felipe as her brother in this one would have been
lost my mind.
A little bit of a throwback and like, oh, we see what you did there.
The movie opens up strong because immediately you see David Cronenberg, one of my favorite directors. I mean, The Fly is one of the most perfect movies ever. I love The Fly. And obviously, he's not really known as an actor, but he's had some acting roles. And he comes in and you buy him as one of the heads of these families. So I love seeing him. And then Sarah Michelle Gellar right after that. And then someone who has made a deal with the devil because he's looked the same for the past 30 years. Elijah Wood as the lawyer. He's just so sweet, but he's saying these awful things during the movie. I love seeing him as well.
Yeah, I was kind of unsure. I'm like, oh, is he actually Mr. Bale? But no, he's playing Mr. Bale's lawyer. Mr. Bale is the devil, who these families have a pact with, which is why they have all this power and why they have to kill people. I love seeing Olivia Chang show up because, as you know, I interviewed nearly the entire cast of Warrior several years ago, and I got to have a brief interview with Olivia Chang, who is also in this movie as one of the members of these families. And I was like, oh, it's my friend from Warrior. And she was very good. She's trying to help out the characters of Samara Weaving and Catherine Newton's characters, while also obviously playing her own hand and wanting something for herself. But she did a great job. She was the head of the House of Ill Repute, I'll say it for broadcast purposes, in Warrior. And if you haven't seen Warrior on Netflix, 3 seasons, it's brilliant. Make sure you go check that out. Unsolicited plug for Warrior there.
There's a lot of rules in this movie, which I don't know if they slide around depending on how the plot needs it, but just know that if you don't understand a rule, it's because Satan wanted it that way.
Right, exactly.
And then you can tell who's no longer in the game because they just exploded. That's one of the rules too. If you break a rule, you blow up into pieces.
And all your family members die as well. Your entire family line will be wiped out if you ruin this game.
There's some creative kills, but I wish there were more. There's some creative evasion tactics. There's one with a smoke screen involving a space heater and some leaves that I really enjoyed, but I would have liked more of that. And, you know, there's some lulls in the middle, but I still had a fun time. The gore is there, so definitely check it out. It's only an hour and 40 minutes. It's not like this 2.5-hour Project Hail Mary.
Which I don't know if we'll have time to review that because we've got about a minute left.
I know.
But
I give this one 3 out of 5 stars, though.
I went 4 out of 5.
Okay.
I think I obviously enjoyed it a little bit more than you did. And the thing is, that's a good rating for me, especially because I was looking forward to this movie so much. And a lot of times if I'm looking forward to something, my expectations are like, it was too high. I was a little bit let down. But I think overall, the only thing that put me off a little bit was some of these rules are being made up as they go, and it's just because Elijah Wood's character just plot device saying, oh, that's never been done before. You got a rule book that's bigger than the Gutenberg Bible, and you tell me Satan didn't realize that this might be a thing. So that's the only reason it didn't. It seemed a little too convenient, some of the plot twists.
It's funny coming from St. Louis. One of the evil corporate families is the Danforth family, and that's a St. Louis family.
Yeah.
They're behind the Purina franchise, I guess you would say. So I don't know if someone is from St. Louis or the Danforth name is worldwide, but I thought that was interesting. And where they had the setting, it looked like it could have been Chase Park Plaza next to Forest Park Golf Course. It just had that same sort of silhouette as Chase Park Plaza.
It did. No, it was very neat to see. Real quick, overall, I gave Project Hail Mary 5 out of 5 stars. You gave it
I gave it 4 out of 5, but I did enjoy the hunting for all the other sci-fi movies that it is lovingly ripping off and being inspired by. So if you don't mind that you're going to see Interstellar and E.T. and Close Encounters, be happy about that because that's fun to watch. So it's a family film. Your whole family's going to love it, and it's going to play on TBS for the rest of our life till the planet burns out. It's going to be nominated for an Oscar and Best Editing in Best Picture.
Yeah, excellent movie. Excellent movie. It's my first 5-star movie of the year, so go check out both out this weekend. So Ready or Not 2 and Project Hail Mary. Thank you to Joey V for coming in, helping me run video. Thank you to Thaao Penghlis for being on. Thank you to Billy Ray. Check out Burn the Water. And, of course, thank you to everyone in the chat. Olivia Miller. We had Jesse Russell, Joseph Rogers. We had our friend from Atlanta, Chance and BK. Thank you. Until next week, my friends.
From ABC News.